man, the students, the fans, and I genuinely mean it from the bottom of my heart. That's a college football environment. That's what you want to play in front of. That was really, really cool for them to show up and make a difference. You know, we played a half where you were able to get off the field, you were able to put drives together, and when you get down to the red zone offensively, it kind of condenses down on you. We certainly didn't do a good enough job down there. A lot of credit to those guys, to Miami. You know, it's a line of scrimmage game at the end of the day, and we couldn't hang in there in the second half on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. You could see it kind of wear down as it goes in the third quarter. You get into it, and we wore down on both sides of the line. Couldn't hold up protectionally like we need to do what we needed to do, and then defensively you could see yourself wear down. Like I said, a lot of credit to them. It's not an excuse, but that's a really good football team on both sides of the line of scrimmage. The quarterback is special, made some throws that we've been able to defend the first 3 weeks, and we couldn't. No matter how good the coverage was, he snuck them in there, and a lot of credit to him. He's really, really special. You know, our guys, the challenge for us now, and I told our guys, it should hurt. And you look in our locker room, the standard has been raised to where we expect to compete in those games. We expect to get it to the fourth quarter, and we expect to go win. And we've been here for a year and a half, and that's where we've gotten the standard to internally. Whatever the standard is on the outside, you guys would know better than I would. But I'm really, really confident that as we continue to build, we will have another opportunity like that, and we'll be able to play better. A second half where we can go finish drives, and a second half where we don't give up explosives, to where we can compete in those games. There's no excuse. It doesn't matter who you play. The expectation is inside our locker room that we find a way to win, and tonight we didn't. At the end of the day, line of scrimmage game, and we didn't get it done in the line of scrimmage on either side. So I'll open it up to questions.
Alex, what happened to Byram, and how is he going to be going forward?
Yeah, he got banged up on the drive before he went down. Tried to push through. Man, he's a tough young guy, and just couldn't. Came back at the end, could have gone in, and wanted to let Bryce continue to go. Bryce has earned the opportunity to do so as well, and Bryce needs those reps to continue to develop and continue to grow, but he'll be fine.
Coach, I'm just curious, this season so far you've gotten the chance to play Alabama and Miami. Just from a roster construction standpoint, just what you've seen in Miami scouting, what you saw out there today, just how do you feel like Miami's trending as a program? How do you feel like it compares to a program like Alabama that they're chasing, and just the ascent that Miami's on as a guy that's, of course, spent some time in the SEC as well?
Man, it's a lot of things there. You're asking me to compare Miami to Alabama, or...
Like, how do you feel like Miami's kind of trending as a program, having played both of these programs? Like, Miami hasn't been up to that standard of Alabama, but, it seems like Miami's a program that's, performing at a higher level. I'm just kind of curious, just having watched them in game plan for both schools, like, stacking those two kind of up, or just how you feel about how Miami's kind of trending again as a program.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think both those teams are obviously really good football teams. Both have high-end quarterbacks. Both teams are loaded with a bunch of really good players. I think tonight for us, I felt like 2 weeks ago against Bama, I felt like up front we held up better up until in the Alabama game, up until the last 5-6 minutes 40 seconds, I guess it was. Here, I felt like we wore down. We wore down a little bit sooner. I don't know. It's hard to compare without probably sitting down and watching that film. Getting ready for Miami, you knew offensively it was going to be a challenge with that front. That front's really special, really talented, really deep. Defensively, the O-line is really talented, really deep, and they got some guys back this week. The way they protect, the way that they allow the quarterback to kind of sit there. I mean, and I don't mean to keep talking about the quarterback, but that's a guy that's played. That was his 48th start. That's a guy that's kind of seen it all, done it all, and we knew we would have to affect him to have success defensively, and just can't get him on the ground. So we got to improve in that regard as well. But I think those are both phenomenal football teams. I don't know in the grand scheme. You're preparing individually for both. That's a really good football team. It's a well-coached football team. They do a good job of doing what their guys can do offensively, and then defensively in the same regard. We couldn't get off the field on third down, right? Cam just kept extending plays. I don't know. I don't know how they stack up to each other, but I'm guessing at some point maybe we'll find out.
Coach, from an offensive standpoint, is the biggest disappointment that you couldn't run the ball any better than tonight?
Yeah, I think there's several things that are disappointing. I would say for us to operate how we need to, we have to run the ball. You could see we tried, and at times we're effective. We went to the screen game as kind of an alternative to that, and I thought had some success there. But, yeah, you've got to be able to run the ball, to sit there and drop back pass against the front like that, really, really hard. And at times we were able to do it. We went to some quick game, went to some screen game to kind of get our rhythm going, and I felt like when we did that, we had success. We had success early on third down. It got harder as it went. Again, as you wear down up front, it gets harder. As we continue to build our depth, I think we'll be better there as we go. But tonight, yeah, it was tough to run the ball. We tried to get the quarterback involved in it to gain a hat, but obviously wasn't good enough.
From a defensive standpoint, it looked like the biggest difference tonight from the first three games is your defensive front just couldn't get home to the quarterback.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair statement. We at times got back there, couldn't get them down, and then we went to pressuring a little bit more, and that's the deal. When you got to pressure to create pressure, when you got to bring an extra guy or two at times, if you don't get home, your guys are out there on their own. And we made some plays there, obviously not enough. And that's there's several catches that their guys made where you're in phase, you've got really good coverage, and ball's in a spot where you can't. And that's what it looked like tonight, but absolutely.
Coach, can you take us through kind of the field goals and Nico with a couple of bombs and then kind of took the air out of the balloon a little bit there in the first half of the missed one?
Yeah, Nico has been our deep guy. That was the first deep one we attempted. John's been really, really solid for my entire time here, been really accurate. And we've had a plan really since week one that anything deep, we were going to go with Nico. He's got a leg. And so that first one felt really good about. The second one was deep again. And then, obviously with John is our guy, and felt really good about. He made the one. We jumped off sides. He had to go back out there and missed it. Just told him, you'll get the next one, dog. He'll be all right. But that was why Nico, and we'll probably move forward with that as we go in terms of Nico will take the deep ones and John will take anything a little bit shorter. But got full confidence in John.
Is depth the one thing right now keeping you from taking that next step to where you can compete for 4 quarters with teams like that? Is it depth?
I think it's twofold. It's certainly, I think any coach will stand here and tell you they want more depth. I feel like we've got depth at certain spots. We've had one real off season to build. I'm not going to justify losing by any means, but I am proud of where we stand here today in terms of what we've been able to do in 16 games. And that's why I say the standard in there has been raised to such a point where our guys truly believe that going into this game, we believed we can win that game. And so, yeah, I think depth. I think your young guys getting older. I think your older guys continuing to get better. You're always going to want more depth. I think it's the depth up front on both sides of the ball that in a game like that gets exposed. And so we'll continue to build up our guys. We'll continue to recruit like crazy, and we'll get to a point where we'll be able to hang for 4 quarters in there.
Coach, Sean with 11 catches tonight, only had 13 coming into this game. How big of a sign is that going forward? It seems like he's kind of reclaiming some of that magic he had last season.
Yeah, I think Sean's played well, really, the whole year. Again, I think when it becomes a game where you're pitching balls out on the perimeter, as kind of supplementing your run game a little bit, Sean does a really good job with that. You see him with the ball in his hands after the catch. I think it was good. Sean's in there, sitting there hurting pretty bad because he was one of the guys that left it all out there. I think Sean's going to continue to improve and continue to be certainly a huge part of our offense.
Coach, positive takeaways from the first half as you move into Tulane. When you think about that first half, and you guys were competitive and spirited, just talk a little bit about any takeaways you can move forward with.
Yeah, you want a second half to replicate the first half, right? And so I guess the positive would be that we sustained drives. The positives would be that we had a turnover defensively. Positives would be that we flew around and made plays. At the same time, didn't finish in the red zone, hence the field goals. So I don't know how much more positive you can be. You got to go play 4 quarters against a veteran team, against a really good football team. We did not do that.
Coach,
Thank you, guys.
Sean, 11 catches tonight. I'm just kidding. Quick. 11 catches tonight, but take us through the play where you ran through the quarterback. And the touch. How nice is that when a coach calls a play like that, a little juiced up on a special play, and then
Yeah, just going out and executing meant a lot. Last week had a throw, didn't complete it. Really beat myself up about that one. But just seeing Byram get open, throwing on the ball, executing a good play, meant a lot to me. It kind of got me back in the groove. But, no, that's all.
How was the atmosphere out there tonight?
Oh, it was electric. I love seeing Ray J pack like that. I've been here for a while, and that was probably the most lit environment that I've been a part of.
Sean, that was big boy football tonight. No quarter asked, no quarter taken, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you look at what you see on that reverse pass, you're throwing to your quarterback. You got to look around and make sure there's not a defender there, right?
I mean, it's football at the end of the day. I played quarterback back in the day, so, a lot of pressure on my face doesn't really affect me. But, seeing Byron wide open is easy.
You talked about getting back in the groove. Now you're back to 50%, right?
Yes, sir.
you've been around this program a long time. Just in your opinion, what does USF need to do to take that next step to be able to win against a team like this for 4 quarters instead of just 2 quarters?
Yeah, I think you just said it. I think we just got to go out and execute for 4 quarters. We saw both at Alabama and at Miami, we went out and fought the first half, and then whatever the executing in the second half, it needs to become higher. The standard needs to be higher. I got full faith that we're going to turn it around. We got a lot of games left, and the real season starts, next week. So we'll focus on that, get back in the groove at practice, and watch the film and go from there.
Anything else for Sean?
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
one more player tonight. We'll have Mac Harris in here shortly. Byron's getting treatment, so he will be here tonight. So if you want to stick around for Mac, you should be here momentarily.
Thank you, Brian.
That's what I said. I took a shower. Should be here. We believe you.
What?
All right, linebacker Mac Harris.
How y'all doing?
Mac, I'll ask you. It looked like tonight, as opposed to the first three games, that you weren't getting the pressure as a group. It was like one guy would come in and Cam would just go one way or the other. It wasn't look like a sustained rush. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. We just got to be more exact going out there into a game versus a talented player like himself.
And that was big boy football tonight. That was mano on mano, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was.
When you look at playing in Alabama, playing in Miami, you get a loss, but does it get to you where you say, okay, we're stepping up and we're playing? We bet 3.5 quarters with Alabama. We went a half toe-to-toe with them. We just got to put 4 quarters together.
Yeah, we don't really look at it as like a moral victory thing. You know, we want to come out on top in both of those games. But yeah, we're just continuing to work, continuing to try to be, better versions of ourselves, and try to get on top of those games.
Mac, you've seen two of the most dynamic quarterbacks in sport past 3 weeks with Milroe and now Cam Ward. Just collectively as a defense, what do you think your guys' main takeaway will be from these past couple of weeks?
And credit to those guys, man. Those are like two really talented guys. But we just, like I said just a second ago, we just got to go out and be more exact. Go to practice and get in the lab and try to, fix, that second half and learn from those mistakes that we made.
Those two questions. What do y'all need to fix to go take on the rest of the AAC? That's a half.
Just coming out of that half with the win mentality and just pushing forward and being who we are as a team and especially as a defense.
Anything else from Mac?
Mac, the experience of playing some of the marquee programs, now you're going into league play. What's the thought process as you go into Tulane?
Thought process is new season. Mentally just go into it 0-0, and try to come out on top and essentially win the conference.